fine. Just give me the heads up. Hello, it is now 7:03 p.m. and a big welcome to all of you to this week's edition of Community Conversation. But guys, we have a lot to cover tonight, so I get right down to it. No warming up, okay? Last week's show, we broke the news to you here that Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed. Well, this morning, young people, see, we have DJ on the line, we have Neil and a few more. We witnessed the end of an era with the casket or the coffin with her body as a lie in state, which is a term used for service. And this was held at the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. She was the very first woman, guys, to lie in state in that building, as well as the first person of Jewish faith to do so. So that in itself was history. I and sure many of you saw, may not be you students, you should be in class, but many of the adults saw as members of all branches of the armed forces brought her body down the steps, flanked by predominantly women in the Senate as they brought it to the hearse. That was a beautiful, a memorable experience. And if you haven't seen it yet, if you were at work or were in class, I highly recommend. It's only about the entire service was probably about 15 minutes. I highly recommend that you do a Google search or YouTube, and you'll find it on your on the web. Let's hear now from our former First Lady Michelle Obama as she shares her thoughts on the late Justice Ginsburg. Neil?
I do have to ask, because it just happened that very sadly we lost Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and I know you and I have talked about this before. My mother, one of the early women to go to Yale Law School, and you went to law school and worked very hard. And I'm wondering what her legacy means to you.
Oh, where do I begin?
Yeah.
I mean, you saw through your experience with your mother what it meant for women of her generation to go and obtain their law degree at a time when women were not thought of as being competent or smart enough to do that, and the level of discrimination that they faced in law school and in their firms afterwards. I just think about that and think about the determination and the sheer intelligence it took for people like Justice Ginsburg and your mother and so many other women, well, not many of them, because there were very few of them in that generation, who were at the front lines of opening up opportunities for all of us. And her entire legal career, her time on the Supreme Court, really pushed open a new set of possibilities for women all over the country and all over the world. And to lose that kind of icon in this time that we're in, because we are facing some difficult times, is heartbreaking, but it should also be eye-opening. We talk about, in every election, we talk about why it's important to vote and the impact that who's in the Oval Office makes to the Supreme Court and those appointments. Sometimes that doesn't feel real to people. It's not motivating enough, because they're like, well, what does this mean? The Supreme Court, a lot of people don't understand. But now that we've lost this icon and the balance of power on the Supreme Court lays in the hands of this sitting president, and will impact the lives of young people for generations to come, it is all too real what having someone like her on the court has meant. But it makes it plain that we cannot take this election for granted. Not now, not ever. She was an icon, a great role model to me, and a dear friend to me and to Barack, and she will be sorely missed.
Well, thank you, First Lady and Conan, for that. Let me just add that tonight's segment is streaming live on both Boca Raton Tribune's and KOP Mentoring Network's Facebook pages. Just got word that we're also being streamed. You can, for those of you who are having difficulty getting on, you can see us on the YouTube channel for Boca Raton TV. And Maria, if you can put that up on the screen again, please. I think I just sent that out to Miss W. Okay, it's on the screen for those.
I'm in.
Got you. Dina. Okay, Dina. Thank you, Dina. Thank you, Mario. Okay, that is youtube.com/Boca Raton News TV. That's youtube.com/Boca Raton News TV if you're listening to us and you'd like to see it. Moving right along. Tonight's segment is, we're 10 days away from the election. Better yet, let's go to the sponsors, Dina. We're so happy, guys. I'm pleased, I'm proud that we still have our sponsors with us this week. We have Wellness Financial, we have Healthier Delray Beach, and we have our local barbershop in Delray Beach. Thanks to them, we're able to continue community conversation for the rest of the year. A huge thank you to our local sponsors. That's Blunt's Barbershop, Community, the Wellness Financial, and Healthier Delray Beach. Thank you so much. We're 10 days away from October 15th, or rather October 5th. What's happening today? We're 10 days away from October 5th, which is the deadline to register to vote in the November 3rd general or presidential election. If you're 18 years old or older and have not yet registered, please text us at 561-665-0151, and Mr. John or someone on his team will make sure that you are registered. Mr. John, what do you have for us this week? Mr.
All
John,
right, can we? I'm here. I'm ready. Can we shoot to the video?
Yeah, Neil. Do your thing, Neil.
I feel like instead of just getting the black vote, you need to shed light on the issues that the black people are dealing with. Say how you're going to fix police brutality. How are you going to fix all these women dying in the hospitals? How are you going to fix the mass incarceration rate, what they call as the new Jim Crow? How are we going to fix that? So I just feel like just focusing on your vote, I feel like it doesn't matter. I fear for this country because just thinking about where I am at now in class, I'm a poli-sci major, so we go back and forth debate about a lot of things, and not to be rude or mean to anyone, but people's mindsets is what scares me the most. That you think it's enough equality and that everything is fine. That you think some black people don't have the skill set, which is why they're not put into certain positions. They think things are fine because they're privileged, their entitlement. It scares me because some of them are taught that way, some of them have grown up that way, and I know this is with thousands of people. So what scares me is their mindset and how they would react to things. They don't understand what it's like to be looked down upon and being put last always, and having all these policies made to go against them. They don't know what it's like. So I feel like we need to just keep pushing for equality. Black people need to stay together. I feel like if we were to come together all as one, we will be a threat to America. So much of the economic stability depends on a lot of African Americans. First of all, we'll be able to come against so many issues, and I just feel like if we rise up together, we'll be a threat. And I mean that in a good way, not in a violent way.
All right. That video kind of spoke for itself, but it just highlights the importance of voting. Again, the deadline to register to vote in the state of Florida is October 5th. And so young people, I know that you're not of age to vote, but please encourage your family members, parents, friends, neighbors, that, this is one of the critical elections of our time. A lot is riding on this. As you can see, a lot of decisions can be made. And so both on the local level, in the state level, and then also on the national level. So I just implore to you guys, and I talk to you guys every week, that again, make sure you're registered to vote, then have a plan to vote, and early voting, mail-in voting. Just make sure that, that if you have any issues with voting, the number to call. I know Brother C. Ron had mentioned the number. And so, again, if you have any questions, definitely feel free to use the chat box. I'll definitely try to help and get you guys as much information as possible as it relates to voting. And I would say just don't wait until the last minute to figure out what your plan is. You should kind of know how you want your plan for voting, and then also you're able to look at sample ballots so you have an idea of who you're going to vote for. So when you go into that, when you go to vote, you know exactly who you're voting for and you're ready. So thank you, guys.
Well, thank you very much, sir. The number again is 561-665-0151 if you have a question about registering to vote, and if you are a felon and have served your time, we do have money available to help you with restitution, and so give us a call and we'll be able to help you in that arena. So guys, we're in week 3 of our happy hour, Zumba Kids Fitness Happy Hour. Is Miss Smith on the line with us? Anyone who's been going to happy hour and on the line? Janaya, have you been going? DJ, have you been going to happy hour? DJ? Okay, he'll get it eventually. Okay. All right, let's shout out time. Let's shout out to some budding artists who are right here in our local community. We have with us this evening Miss Lachey Ferguson from Acts of Life Productions and some of her students. But before we hear from them, let's learn more about Acts of Life Productions and its virtual drama class.
And welcome to our first virtual Acts of Life production. I am Christine Lachey, your host for this presentation. So come on in and take a seat while I tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do. Acts of Life Productions is an inspirational theater company.
I'm so sorry. I completely forgot.
Kings never forget. I command that your nose grows 3 times its size and stay that way until you find the most famous person in the land. They must come here and undo the curse with a secret fairy poem.
Music is a language.
And with that, the oldest fairy waved
Represent feelings and
the king's nose
soul
grew 3
with no boundaries or limitations.
We produce original full-length stage plays, most notably The Last Hope, Enough is Enough, and Be Ready. I am the writer and director. I grew up on the south side of Delray Beach. And the entire production team is comprised of friends that live, work, or worship in our community.
Zip to Miss Playwright.
Zap to Jada.
Zop to Malia.
Zip to PJ.
Zap to Miss Playwright. Zap to Trisha.
Zip to Jada.
Zap to PJ.
Zap to Malia.
Zip to Miss Playwright.
Zap.
No, you're out. You're out.
Wait, no,
I'm so sorry.
No, you're not.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I led the kids in a few fun games and theater exercises. We begin with physical stretching activities and move to focusing warm-ups, such as zip, zap, zop. This is one of the most famous theater games. We discussed voice projection and articulation, and our kids absolutely loved it. Now, once we were finished with the games and exercises, we transitioned to poems, and our kids studied and memorized all of them.
I Know Why the Caged Birds Sing by Maya Angelou.
The free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wing as the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky.
But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped, his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing.
The caged bird sings with fearful thrill of the things unknown but lost for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, where the caged bird sings of freedom.
The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade winds soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn-bright lawn as he names the sky his own.
But a caged bird stands on the grave of trees, his shadow shouts on the nightmare street. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat and to sing. The caged bird sings with fearful thrill of the things unknown but longs for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, where the caged bird sings of freedom.
To learn more about Acts of Life Productions, please visit our website at ChristineLachey.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. And we have with us this evening Miss Lachey Ferguson herself. Good evening, Miss Lachey, Christine Lachey. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Yeah, you can fine, Fernando. Go ahead and give her a round of applause. I just love Miss Jacqueline. I just love seeing those kids, performing. So, talk to me, Lachey. How did what inspired you to get this program started? How did you get involved in this?
COVID.
COVID. Talk to us.
Yeah. So what actually happened was, I normally have every year we have a full length production. It's usually in July. We couldn't have that, so I figured I could do something fun with the kids. Being that everybody was on Zoom, I wanted to come up with a way so that we could still do what I normally do, but with kids. So I went searching on the web for programs. I discovered a program called Drama Notebooks, and I studied, and I was like, hey, maybe I can do this with the kids. So I put a little program together, and I invited kids to join. That's basically it.
Wonderful. So who do we have with us? I see we have Jada hanging out with us this evening. Jada, way to go. I see PJ, and who else do we have with you?
That's it. Just me.
Oh,
I
just
don't
you
think
and
anyone
you.
else. Yeah.
Okay,
PJ.
talk
and
to me
Jada.
out. Is this for the community, right?
Yes, it's absolutely for the community. So,
And
yeah.
what can participants expect to learn from this experience? And what's a typical session like?
Okay, so first off, it's 5 weeks of it's engaging, interactive. It's only 1 hour, but the kids get to play pretend, make believe. They get to create, invent. I basically want them to forget about the world and be themselves or be other characters. So what they can expect to learn is what we do with the kids is help them bond as a group. They get to focus on listening skills and communicate information through drama, because usually it's hard for them to do that. They learn the basics of acting, stage movement, and some vocalization. And what we do is help them with that by relating meanings of fairy tales and stories to their own lives. We make it relevant. So, yeah.
We're getting some questions here, and I want to get the kids in before we move on. But how did you guys choose to perform the Caged Bird Sings? How did you guys? What was behind that?
Well, so I was thinking about COVID and the kids not being able to get out. So I was checking out, looking for poems, and I thought about Maya Angelou, and with that, that's basically how it came about, because we learned 1 poem each session.
Okay, and what are the ages of the young people you serve?
So right now it's middle school. However, I do have participants as young as 6.
Okay. What are some of your? I know you've done quite a few more productions around town. What are some other productions you've done around here, Lachey?
So I've done The Last Hope. Enough is Enough. I actually did The Last Hope twice. Enough is Enough and Be Ready.
What was The Last Hope about?
Oh, The Last Hope was amazing. It was about a young man struggling to find himself. He was raised by his single mom and his stepfather. And he was really a disgruntled kid. And one day he happened to meet a homeless guy on the street. And through that bond, the homeless guy kind of helped him understand what his parents were going through. And so it, by talking with the homeless man about what he had gone through as a kid, it kind of helped him in his direction.
Got you. So PJ, what have you learned from this program so far, young man? And Jada, you're up next.
I've learned about different.
No, not DJ, not DJ. DJ, we have PJ and we have DJ. DJ, not you right now, buddy. PJ himself. Patrick, PJ.
Hey.
You're up next, DJ. Patrick, what have you learned so far, buddy?
Well, I've learned so far that that there's not only one way to do acting, not by in person on a stage where you got to act out everywhere, but you can do it at home, on the computer, on Zoom. And it's really amazing how I was able to expand my experience, and I was able to make new friends and learn new skills.
Got you. And Miss Jada Jones herself. What's your favorite character? Jada, what's your favorite character that you've played in previous productions?
Definitely
Yeah.
My favorite has to be Gracie from Be Ready. Because she kind of shows the struggles of being a teenager with parents who have their own separate issues, that you need to be that one person they can fall back on and kind of help in a sense.
Okay. All right. Okay, guys, if you go ahead and mute your phones, please. We're getting a lot of background noise. All right, thank you. Tonight's show is produced by Miss Joeldina Bazou, who's a graduating senior at Atlantic Community High School, as well as the Milagros Center here in Delray Beach. LaDanian Day Thomas also attends Milagros Center, and he's a Village Academy student. He is our production manager with Boca Raton TV. Rather, Mr. Mario Rodriguez is our production manager, and he is with Boca Raton TV. LaDanian Day Thomas is our production intern. Our cinematographer is Mr. Neil Sunskin, Neil Noel, and he's responsible for all those beautiful, lovely videos that you have been seeing. Neil attends Village Academy and also a product of KOP Mentoring Network. Folks, talk about food plus justice equal democracy. I learned that recently, and I had to share it with you. But as we continue our series on healthy living, Miss Jacqueline Botting from Wise Tribe is back with us. And as usual, she always has a way of just boosting us and empowering us to engage in healthy food practice. In fact, she is, to our youth in this community, she's what I call a Gatorade. Well, Gatorade is for athletes. That's the role Miss Jacqueline plays as it relates to our young people here. Miss Jacqueline, thanks for stopping by this afternoon. What do you have in your bag for us today?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me back. I just want to say that was an incredible performance, and it really made me think about why the caged bird sings. And I'm wondering if maybe any of the performers would give us a little bit like, what's the meaning of the poem? I could feel meaning, but I wonder if any of you guys could tell us a little bit about what it meant for you. Because it's connected to food and what we're going to talk about in terms of food. I think. Anyone? PJ? What did the play, did it have any sort of meaning for you, or why was the caged bird singing?
Okay. For me, the caged bird was singing for the freedom that they wanted because they were stuck in a cage, kind of in captivity with themselves. There was no other person or bird around to entertain or keep with them to have a friend or have something. They just were in a cage with nothing but themselves and the bars that were surrounding them, almost like a prison.
That is a very powerful response. Thank you, Jada. That was great. And in some ways, it's when we think about food, we probably don't think about it as sort of being imprisoning. But in so many ways, the way that our modern food system has been set up, we are prisoners to it because we don't necessarily have lots of choice or access to food that is fresh and affordable. But I've been doing a little bit of research. I want to tell you guys some things that I have learned. So a lot of people think that this concept of what is a food desert. Does anyone know what a food desert is? What's a desert? Basically, a desert has no vegetation, right? It's like all sand. There's nothing really there. It's kind of hot, and you can't like get into it and live from it. And so they call food deserts basically spaces where it's really hard to get access to fresh food, fresh vegetables, and just stuff that's going to keep you healthy and well, because everybody knows that food is medicine. It is our primary medicine, right? Exactly. But there's something else that's actually happening, and that we are not dying from not getting enough food. We're dying from eating too much food. And so there's this thing now that they're calling food swamps. So food swamps are basically where we got all the fast food places, right? Where it's just out our door, really close to where we live, easy to access. It's priced pretty cheaply, right? And so it's not that the problem is not people having access to fresh food, it's that they've got too much access to bad food. And there's also something that's going on with these major food companies that we all need to get seriously wise about. but they've got these marketing practices and they communicate with us in ways that in some ways kind of seduces our mind and gets us to think like, wow, you know, I can, if I drink this, I'm going to have more energy. Or if I, you know, this food is, it's fun, it's easy, it's, you know, grab and go. And so these are the things that these types of practices are something that are a huge part of the problem on why people are not, or why too many people are dying from eating too much food and not having enough food. And so really what is, and I want to talk about, now we're going to shift the conversation a little bit to power, right? And so we've got two forms of power when it comes to food. As individuals, we actually always have the choice to choose the less worst option, right? So you can go into McDonald's and you can get all supersized, right? Or you can get the little itty bitty Happy Meal that's really going to fill you up just as much, but it's going to be less damaging.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So this is what I would, one part of power is called micro moments. Right. And so just imagine being, let's just take, look, I occasionally have a little bit of fast food and my weakness would be Chick-fil-A. So I can sometimes be at the board and I really have made an effort to stop and to embody this practice, what I'm teaching you. So I have gone in there and I've looked at the board and I'm getting all these smells, like, you know, their fries, their chicken. It is so seductive, right? You're like already eating or tasting the food before you've even bitten into it. And so I realized that my ability to choose less of the food is a lot harder when I'm there in the moment, feeling a little bit hungry. But I got to tell myself, okay, I've got this micro moment of power where I can choose against a system. And in this case, I'm talking about a food system that is not voting for me and my health. They're voting for their profits. And so what I get to do is say, okay, I'm going to take this micro moment of power and I'm not going to get the fries and I'm not going to get the soda. I'm just going to get the sandwich and I'm going to get a water and I'm going to walk out of here and I'm not coming back for hopefully 2-3 months.
So Ms. Jacqueline, how much power do we really have, though, as consumers or young people? Are you saying that we have power to make those choices?
I think
I walk in a restaurant and that food smells good, and I have the money in my pocket. I'm hungry, and I know it's not good for me, but.
And this is where we all. So this is where we get to choose to be human or somewhat superhuman, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that this generation has enormous amounts of power, and that food and being, it's really not being about being passive consumers. You guys know what passive means? You're kind of sleeping, or you're like, you can be easily pushed over because you're a passive consumer. But what if you were an engaged and empowered citizen, right? Just like we were talking about how important it is for voting and the lifetime consequences that your vote could have because of a sort of a new Supreme Court that could be coming in. You are voting every single time you choose food. You are voting to either be a passive consumer or you can be an empowered citizen, right? So that's just one part of it. And then there's another part of power that we all have available. And I think that there's like, Ciron, you're leading some sort of gardening project tomorrow, right?
Yes, we are. We're going to talk about it in a few minutes.
Perfect example of using your power in your community. So this is not about you in your decisions in your life, although that is personal mastery. And if you've got the capacity to really, in a moment where it's sort of high stakes in terms of, oh, there's emotion here, there's hunger here, there's good smelling food, and like, this is going to be an awesome meal, you kind of have to have an interruption and say, okay, I'm not going to go for the whole hog here. I'm just going to go for the chicken sandwich, going to keep it simple with the water, and I'm going to feel good about myself when I walk out of here, and I'm going to do less damage to my body and to my long-term health. So,
way to go. You speak about interruption. I'm going to interrupt you for a minute because we have a lot of questions. I'll get back to you shortly. But just as food is an integral part of the quality of life that we live, it also has influence over us as young people. Music certainly has a way of making us do some strange things. some weird things. Whether it's from Billie Holiday's back in 1939, his hits, Strange Fruit, possibly the earliest modern protest song which ushered in genuine change and the beginning of the civil rights movement, to John Lennon's Imagine All the People. Arguably, come on, why are you laughing? Okay. Arguably one of the most celebrated and seminal pieces of music of all time, as a symbol of the pursuit of world peace. You know, we see these protest songs where they have a long and a rich pedigree, influencing, if you will, everything from race to sexuality to class politics. And we have with us today, we have four of the country's top voices in the music arena. And they're going to share with us a little about their thoughts on this. We have Miss Leah Drummond, who has been singing and playing the piano since the age of 6. She graduated cum laude from Old Dominion University, and she earned her Bachelor's of Arts in Music Education with a concentration on vocal performance at ODU. Ms. Drummond, as of this coming Monday, will be teaching music at a school in the Atlanta area. Ms. Drummond, great having you with us. How are you?
Hi, I'm well. How are you?
It's a great day in South Florida. We also have Mr. Willie Stewart, who spent decades turning global audiences onto the magic of the reggae rhythms of Third World Band, which was one of the most successful Jamaican acts of the 70s and 80s. Also, we have Mr. Anthony Backus, who has been a drummer for more than 30 years and has developed this unique, unorthodox style over the years with a West African and a Caribbean flavor in music. He leads locally, he leads a drum circle as well as plays in a full band. And finally, we have our very own blues man and Columbia College Chicago music instructor, Fernando Jones. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us this afternoon. Ms. Drummond, let's start with you. When and how were you introduced to music?
I was introduced to music at a very young age. I grew up singing in the church, so that was my first introduction to music. I started singing, as you said, around 6 or 7 in the choir. So that was my very first introduction to music, and I've just stuck with it ever since.
All right. So over the years, you certainly has amassed an impressive, very impressive vitae, which DJ and Mitha, DJ in particular, resume. Vitae is another name for resume. You have impressed and very impressive vitae in a short time. You've earned your master's in musical education from Johns Hopkins Peabody Conservatory in Baltimore. You performed at the annual Christmas Village 2 years in a row, the annual Flower Mart Festival, and you've performed the national anthem for the annual 4th of July parade in Bel Air. Am I correct?
That's correct. Yes.
As well as you perform with the Peabody Hopkins Chorus, the West African Dance Ensemble, and annual Lynx concert. Yeah. Has it always been your dream to be an educator?
It hasn't always been a dream of mine to be an educator. My passion is music and singing, but education has just been something that has just come along with being a musician. There's always jobs in the teaching field. There's always a need for educators, especially in music. So it's been great to teach. I really enjoyed it, but definitely performing has been the big dream of mine. But I feel lucky enough that I've been able to teach as well.
I am so Happy and proud of you, girl. As you head to the classroom in Atlanta to begin another phase of your impressive career, I will make sure that you have the contact information for these three gentlemen here, and I tell you, you can call on them anytime. I know all of them, Leah, and they're always ready to help out our future ladies and young ladies and gentlemen. Okay.
Thank you.
I have a few more questions for you, so stand by.
Okay.
Mr. Anthony, many of us know you as the teen director at the Milagro Center, but very few know about your musical prowess. Tell us, if you will, about the drum circle. You brought one of the largest drum circle performance to this city some years ago. And what was your inspiration to get this going?
You know, the drum is a powerful instrument, and definitely it has a way to relate to everybody, all nations, races, and everybody, and it has a way of bringing the community together. So whether it's here in South Florida, or it's in New York, or in the Caribbean, or anywhere around the world, the drum draws people and bring them together. And you could use the drum in many different ways, and the way doing the drum circle here is basically a point of mindset for the youth and bringing the community together. That's kind of underlined it in a simple note.
How many drums you had? You had a performance here in town a few years ago when you had a couple of, it was a lot of drums. How many drums did you have back?
Well, we did 111 drums performance. We did it in several instances. We did 17 drums performance for. Okay, I'm on the clock right now. Thank you, Wally. Yeah, I apologize. I have my teams with me. So we did it in several different incidences. Like we did the Yoga Fest. We had 111 drums with Spas Shah, who is from India. He's now the world's top 10 motivational speaker. We did 100 drums for Youth Services Department here in Palm Beach County. And we did 100 drums at the Delray Beach Library. So, we've done 100 drums, and we have done lesser drums also. But definitely bringing people together.
Let's move this forward. The politically charged music of the 1960s helped create a new vision for American society that can be felt in our consciousness today. Anthony, what is it about music that gives it this special ability, if you will, to affect vastly wide groups of people?
You know, it's like food. You know, it's like, you eat something, and if somebody like an apple, everybody loves an apple. Now, food, if you look back and you say, remember the days in school, right? When you had a friend, you were dating a friend, and there was a particular song that was playing. When you hear that song, it brings back the memory, right? So this is how music tells a story and could take something and really expand it no matter what. So if the music is related to a politically charged situation, then there it is. When you hear that song, no matter which song it is, whether it's a song from the Police, a song from the Beatles, or whatever it is that's related to politically charged situations, you could relate to that song, and it would bring back all the memories. It would bring back all the experiences that you had at that time.
You know, Brother Willie, let's go back to the 1960s. Why was music a far more potent force for social change back then than any other decade in this country, if you will?
This is me? Is that okay?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yeah. Well, I think in that time, the language of emotion in that represent music had a different feeling. It barged into your soul with the boundaries of, there was no limitation. People could feel, if you wanted, why people buy music is because they want to say something, but they can't say it universally. So when that music comes and it's to deal with their lives, they can support it. That's why they buy records. So it can go number one. So it's what they want to say. So they can't.
By the way, guys, Janaya, Willie, you just use a word. They have no idea what it is. You said records. By the way, Janaya and DJ, record is this big, huge thing. Now it's like a huge CD.
We're talking about the 60s. So the record, the little gramophones, I think, those days. And that was the greatest thing. And we had some incredible people in the 60s. The music, there was also a lot of political things that was happening. You know, people was changing, the music was changing. We had Martin Luther King, civil rights. It's like everything. There was all different political, social things that was happening where people want to change it, you know, changes. And the music, and a musician who creates a picture. Music forms that picture. And people can, it's like a loudspeaker for the world.
Right.
As you said, John Lennon's song, it went out there and it affects so much everybody. And today it lives on. He's gone. Bob Marley's gone. But the music is still relevant today. There's no, it's like timeless music.
Yeah, speaking of gone on, I just learned that, I learned a few weeks ago that one of your dear friends, Toots Hibbert, passed away. Accept my condolences, and may his soul rest in peace. Back when I was a reporter in New York City, and I had a chance to interview him for the newspaper I worked at up there, and just a wonderful soul he was. One of the people who had a strong influence in your life was your oldest brother, Byron Lee, from Byron Lee and the Dragonaires. A lot of people have no idea that was a connection there. And you played for him at a time when it was rare, Willie, to find a drummer in a band. Am I correct?
Very much so. You're dead on.
Take us through this. What was it like then? What was it like then? A band without a.
Yeah. Well, listen. I was 16. Being 16, I played in a circle. I was in a group in a circle. I had my own band, Morris Bishop Circus. Then when he asked me to play in a band, my mother said, because my brother is better going to the band because he was in the music business. So I was touring the world at 16, 14 musicians. I was the youngest. So born in England, went to Jamaica when I was 11, then being introduced to America in Miami, coming off in a cargo van, seeing this vast piece of land and driving for at least 32 hours to Montreal to get ready to play. I mean, I think what I saw, because you know, when you go to new places, your eyes, your whole attention, I saw things that I'm saying, how can people live in this remote area? How did they get this? I remember stopping one time with my brother and we had to come out, because 2 vans, and we had to come out to get gas. Believe me, police was there and they said, listen, I suggest you move on. So you saw the land as it laid. It was unbelievable. Then I got the chance to go to Greenland, Iceland, and there is like all day, all night. You see 6 months of day, 6 months, you was out of the world. Then I went to Europe. So it was really, really fantastic.
Not sure if you remember. If you remember, our Third World Band played in Delray Beach many years ago, for the Roots Cultural Festival. And our president at the time, the chairman of the Roots Festival, I think she's on the line. I saw her earlier, Miss Franklin. Miss Franklin, are you there? She joined us. She's on Facebook. She's on Facebook, but she is with us, one of our ardent supporters. But yeah, Third World played in Delray Beach, which is just north of where you're in Broward County now these days, right?
Yeah, right. I'm in Broward County.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. She Third World played in Delray many years ago, and it certainly was a great show back then. Now, Willie, talk to me, if you will. You're down in Broward County. If you will, guys, I'm getting a lot of background noise. Please mute your phones. You're down in Broward County now, running a school. What are you doing these days?
Well, what I did is, when I left music business, in the sense of not music business, but left Third World, I went to England and studied to be a music facilitator, 2 years. Then I came in 2000 to here, and I started to work with parks and recs, schools, after school programming, like my good friend Anthony, drums, percussions. I start facilitating music with youngsters, who probably never been experiencing music before. So I got groups together, and eventually I got my own production company, Solutions Music, and then I got a non-profit where now I work with kids like for 3 months, 1 day a week, 1 day a week. They do 30 hours. I teach them different drum method because I have a way of teaching them that even though they don't have to be musicians, so they get this experience, and I put them on a show called Rhythms of Africa, which is a journey from Africa. Rhythms of Africa, from a journey from Africa, Brazil, Puerto Rico, Trinidad, Jamaica, New Orleans. It's unbelievable. We did one in February, and it was 3.5 hours. It was amazing. And it's like you have 60 kids on stage and 35 musicians. So they experience a show in the highest level. And during that time, when I started, we had this was the 8th one I just did. But in the beginning, we mostly had our kids, if you know what I'm saying, culturally, who came in. And then over the last 2-3 years, it's been mixed. So it's beautiful because they can get to eat Caribbean food. They get
these kids from? Do you have any kids from Palm Beach County?
Well, not yet. That's what I'm waiting.
Well, you will have some. You will have some. You will have some because we're going to make sure Anthony gets some of our kids. See, I'm already getting texts from people about how can we get our kids involved. Give us a number, if you will, how we can reach you, Willie, to be a part of this. Give it to Dina, our producer, and we'll make sure it gets up.
Yeah, man, I will do that. Yeah, man, no problem.
Okay.
So,
And just to add with that, Mr. Ceron, for the show that Mr. William did, Rhythms of Africa, we had 15 teens from Malago Center attended that show, including Miss Dina Bazoo, who is on your show right now. So just a lot of respect to Mr. William. Yo, man, hats off to you. It was a spectacular show, and the teens had a great time.
It's all about exposure. Thank you much. Brother Fernando Jones, Bluesman. How are things in the Windy City, man? Brother Jones, Brother Jones.
Yes, unleash his mic. Maybe his mic is.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. Fernando Jones, Bluesman again. There he is. Go ahead, man. Okay, Brother Jones, go ahead and get out and come back in. Apparently you're having issues with your mic, if you can. While Brother Jones does that, Miss Drummond, talk to me, if you will. What is it about music that makes it its message so readily accessible?
Well, I think that music is definitely a universal language. It's so easily accessible, whether streaming, radio, when you're in the store, you hear it all of the time. So it's not hard to get a message across through music, especially when there's so many trends going around, like the dancing and the TikTok, and it's just so easy to get a message through music. Sometimes it's easier for kids to receive a message through their favorite musical artists than it is if they were to read about something in the news or in a book or something. So, yeah.
Okay. And while you're there, Mr. Jones, are you back? How can music, if you will, how can music influence change in our society? Leah?
A lot of ways. Just like you mentioned, all of the songs, John Lennon, Imagine, they can really influence how you think and how you feel. Rise Up, that's another great song by Andra Day. It's very powerful and inspiring. So just the lyrics in general can really make you feel great about yourself, make you feel empowered, and yeah.
Good. Well, thank you. Brother Willie, we're getting a lot of texts and messages here for you, bro. Awesome and intelligent gentleman, world traveler. He should be invited somewhere to expose the various genres. I think he would be appreciated. We're going to make sure you come back. on Community Conversation for sure. See, I'm getting texts from all over. Now, Miss Lachey, I have a question. Just came in for you. Mr. Jones, you back with us? Mr. Jones? Dina, can you try to reach him?
Fernando Jones is on here.
He's on, but somehow
He's not connected to audio.
he's not connected to audio. Okay, go ahead and work that out. Go ahead and work that out for me. So, Mr. Anthony.
Yes, sir.
What production are you working on these days?
We have several productions. We just finished doing the We Are the World video. That was well received, where we had the entire community involved, including yourself. Right now, we are working on the Time Capsule Challenge, which is, we want to say, I will breathe. Get your knee off my neck. I am going to breathe. Versus I can't breathe. We're not just going to sit back and say we can't breathe. So we did a time capsule where the teens did a time capsule, and it was received on NBC television. And basically what we're saying is that we will breathe. What are you going to do in order to breathe? We will vote. We will pay attention to food sustainability, living a good, healthy life. Also, we have to look at the children in school with the COVID-19 in terms of how are they coping with COVID-19 going to school. And we want to tell the children, act like you have your own business. You are managing yourself and you will breathe. So what you will do is you will make sure you will attend classes. You will make sure that you will get your GPA up. Don't just rely on just the teacher only. But in order for you to breathe in these times, you're going to stand up and represent yourself and breathe. So what we're doing, we are now challenging the whole United States to breathe. And we have people from all over, from in California, Washington. I've spoken to Maya Angelou Foundation. We had Youth Services Department, Primetime, yourself, and many other people, Jacqueline Borden from Wise Tribe. And we're going to make a loud noise saying that we will breathe. And
what are we talking about? What are the date? What's the date on this?
We are looking to have a collaborative meeting on the 30th of this month, and we are looking to have the actual time capsule done on the 7th now of October. Now, over the past week or two, things have really been escalating, and we have a lot of people getting on board who want to do a time capsule to breathe. Now, the time capsule don't necessarily have to be buried. You can do a time capsule and you can put it into a particular area.
And you say what date? What date?
What
date are you talking about?
4 or 5 years.
What date are you talking about doing this?
Could you please repeat that?
What date are you talking about doing this in October?
The date to do the time capsule?
Yes.
Is that what you?
Yes, that's correct.
Looking for October 7th.
October 7th. What we're going to do, I'm going to have Dina work with you. I'm going to have Dina work with you and try to get you back so you can spend some more time and tell us more about your thoughts behind this and how we can get involved. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. One last question, Miss Lachey. We had a question just came in for you. It how does someone with an interest contact you?
Oh, you can contact me by going to ChristineLachey.com, or you can email me at actsoflifeproductions@gmail.com.
That's actsoflifeproductions@gmail.com.
Correct.
Okay. All right, and that will about do it for this week's edition of Community Conversation. I certainly hope you learned something tonight that will make a significant impact in your life. Young people, as I've always said, Janaya, Neil, Dina, Metha, DJ, and all of you young people listening to me, whether you're in South Florida or not. Speaking of which, why don't you go ahead and type the city you're listening in from, wherever you are. Dina, you forgot to tell me that. Wherever you're listening, go ahead and type your city in. Time to check in time. Let's go ahead and check in, guys. We want to know what town you're listening. This is the time for that.
I just want to mention really quickly that for Mr. William, a lot of respect to him for Rhythms of Africa. And we had discussions of bringing Rhythms of Africa to West Palm Beach. We don't know when, probably soon. I just wanted to bring that up really briefly and quickly that we had talked about bringing Rhythms of Africa to.
Sounds good. Keep us posted, and when you guys do that, we definitely want to be there to show support. But okay, so we have that. You checked in your cities in the chat. Well, certainly, guys, young people, there's no greater investment you can make on a Friday night than being with like-minded people on community conversation. Like I've always said, the best is yet to come. You wait till you hear who's coming up next week. We have a group from the College Board, and they're the people, Janaya, who does the ACT and SAT, and they're going to talk to us about the value of having, the relevance of having the SAT or other college admissions test. So come prepared, come with your questions. We are going to have another good time next week. Okay, Mr. Jones wasn't able to come back with us.
I'm back.
You're back. You're back.
Yeah. Somehow it defaults some kind of a way when I get on, but I'm back. I had to switch some stuff around.
You're back, and I'd be remiss if I did not let you have a few words, brother. Talk to me quickly. You did this summer. You made history when you created. You had young people from all over the world at the Blues Camp. Tell us about the Blues Camp, please.
Well, long story short, we do an international blues camp, and we have a partnership with the KOP Mentoring Network in Florida, and we had kids from Florida as well as kids from different parts of the world. And we look forward to getting back to Florida and having the kids come here as soon as this whole situation is over. I'm here for you all. Ciron is my brother. So next we have some, I'll make sure I've got the proper system setting and everything is cool.
How many years you been doing this Blues Camp now?
The Blues Camp has been done for 11 years and the program is 31 years old.
31 years. You've done camps in Japan and in Cuba and
yes, sir.
other countries.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes, sir.
Why have musicians and the message of their music been given such a wide reach in the first place, Fernando?
Well, I think music, no matter what your first language is, I think music is our second language, no matter what language we speak, no matter where we live. And so since it is our default second language, I think that makes it easier to be accepted and received by people all over the world, no matter what type of music that it may be.
All right. Well, on that note, we're going to have to cut it short. My producers in my ears tell me we got to go. Thanks again to our guests, and a big, sincere shout out to the Boca Raton TV for simulcasting us on Facebook, and our sponsors, Blank New Look Barbershop, Healthier Delray, and Wellness Financial. Again, tonight's show was produced by Dina Bazoo, a student at Milagro Center here in Delray Beach. Our production intern is LaDanian Dede Thomas from the Milagro Center. Noel is our cinematographer, and from the entire crew here, guys, have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bless you.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Awesome.